let's talk about tight ends in the National Football. The National Football League. PFF put together their list of the top 20 tight ends heading into the 2026 season. Let's see where Harold Fannin ranks. Number 1, George Kittle, so they're already wrong. I shouldn't say that because they're factoring in blocking. If you're factoring in blocking.
For the record, blocking played a big role in a lot of it. They look at the overall effectiveness. This is not just as a fantasy football ranking. This is an overall ranking.
Now, well, not just fantasy football, but Brock, I'm like, George Kittle's not reliable in terms he's always hurt.
Yeah.
It's funny, he was at Wrigley Field the other day.
He's awesome.
And he went on the Cubs broadcast and he was awesome. But what was funny is he said he was a big Cubs fan, and he'd been a big Cubs fan as a kid.
From Iowa.
Right. And most people that's Cubs country. The AAA team plays there. But he didn't know the Cubs' best player's name. He just referenced him, Pete Armstrong.
PCA?
Like, there's no way you're a big Cubs fan and don't know who PCA is.
He might be the MVP in the National League.
Yeah, exactly.
He's that good.
He knew him by number. He's like, and you know me, I don't know numbers, but he's like, which I thought was weird. But
that is weird.
Besides that, he was
3?
great on the broadcast. I don't even know. I don't pay attention to numbers.
Anytime Kittle does media,
fantastic.
10 out of 10.
He's going to be great when he retires and he's in the media.
Yes.
I would not choose him first, even though he's great when he's healthy. Only because he's injury prone at this point in his career.
I put McBride 1.
See, I like Bowers the most.
I like Bowers too.
Yeah, I like Bowers the most. But
it's the right top 3 in whatever order of preference.
Yeah. Sam Laporte 4. He was a little banged up last year. Colston Loveland was
hard to argue with that list, man. They're all awesome players.
No. Who's next? Because Colston Loveland already after one season is number 5. That seems a little high, but okay. Top 4 I got no problem with. What's the next group, 6 to 10? Dalton Kincaid. I mean, that's a big drop to those guys. I mean, Kelsey down to 9.
He's old.
Yeah. I don't know, man. What did Kelsey have last year in terms of yardage?
He was still solid, but he wasn't traditional, typical.
For one more year, I'd still put Kelsey 5.
I'd take him over Kincaid. Kraft's coming off the ACL injury. Pitts had a big end of the season.
Yeah. I mean, I know Pitts has been up and down.
Yards.
What's that?
851 yards last year.
I still put Kelsey 5. I'd have Pitts 6. And then I'd probably have Kraft, Kincaid, Loveland, and Warren. Those can go in any order. I'm surprised. Now, Harold Fannin should be in the next 5.
He's not.
What?
And this is where I have an issue. Do you even know what team Bretton Strain's on, by the way?
Jacksonville.
Yeah. How many people around the NFL do you think? Or how many just random casual
that doesn't
fans?
mean that most people might not know what team Harold Fannin's on.
I'm just asking the question. Yeah.
Hunter Henry's, to me, just a guy. I mean, Mark Andrews was terrible last year. He seems like he's going off the cliff.
God, he's got to be old.
Yeah. Colby Parkinson is on the Rams. He's all right. Brenton Stranger's really good this past year.
He's a really good blocker, too, which is...
Yeah. That's the thing. Harold Fannin, I don't think is much of a blocker. And you got to factor that in here.
When you see the 16 through 20, which is where Harold Fannin does fall in.
If this was just receiving, Harold Fannin's 19... Everybody's going to get up arms in this, which is stupid. He probably graded poorly as a blocker, is my guess.
Their write-up on Fannin was, if this was just receiving,
he'd be in the top 10.
Bring him up. If it was just blocking, you bring him down. This is kind of where we average it out for him. I don't know, full disclosure, I don't watch enough random tight end blocking clips to understand Fannin versus some of the other guys that he's slightly behind. But if we're talking potential, if we're talking where Harold Fannin could eventually end up on PFF's top 20 tight ends for 2027, 2028 list. Like, he's got the potential to be on that first page.
Well, but again, you're not factoring in blocking.
But he's only played tight end for 3 years.
Yeah.
I think he could develop into a better blocker.
But he's not going to – I don't think they're going to want him to do –
But Brock Bowers isn't much of a blocker either, but he's such a good receiver that he's in the top 3.
Listen, I have no clue how good any of these guys are at blocking. I know that Kittle's really good. Otherwise, I have no clue.
McBride didn't grade highly.
But
Bowers didn't grade highly.
Bowers is not very good at blocking, even though he's obviously better than Fannin, there shouldn't be that much of a difference in where they are. In terms of, like, just being a pass catcher, Harold Fannin's top 10.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Totally.
But, whatever.
None of those guys were drafted for their blocking, put it that way.
None of them.
So, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah. They factor in blocking. It's hard to say, it should be this, he should be that. I don't know. I don't know what these guys are blocking wise.
I do think, like looking big picture, next year he's going to be much higher on the list. In 2 years, I think I said it a second ago. He could be in that top 5.
If blocking improves this list,
Yeah,
if it was just an ESPN top tight ends list, he would have been higher this year.
But I think you're saying that with all this. Like, if he's a better receiver, he's going up. If he improves as a blocker, which, once again, I've told you all my football history. I played 1 year of offensive line in second grade, got destroyed, hated it, never played football again. So it's not like I have the ins and outs of blocking.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't Harold Fannin be able to improve as a blocker as he gets more familiar with the position? And as he grows into his body, he's one of the youngest players in the NFL last year.
Probably
making the transition from safety to tight end. He's still putting on weight in a good way, which should only help him as an inline blocker.
He will probably improve as a blocker.
There's no reason to believe he would.
But I don't think they're not worried about his blocking.
No.
Is my point, generally. Don't you think?
I don't think they're worried about his block.
He's here to be an offensive force.
He's here to score touchdowns, catch passes, and pick up first downs. Like, we need this guy to be a weapon on this offense as he was a year ago. And I think he'll continue to get better in every aspect of his game. As you said, I mean, I covered him in college, and he just looked like a baby. I mean, he's just continuing to grow and learning new positions, all that stuff.
That being said, can you bring up the top 10 again, Anthony? Because if I was starting a team and you asked me, okay, when would I take Harold Fannin? Especially if I factor in age.
If we're taking an age, would you still take Kittle's older, but obviously incredible? Would you take?
I'd still probably take Kittle.
I would too. I think
I would take McBride. I would take Bowers. I'd take all 5 of those guys over Fannin.
I agree.
Next list. No, I would take Tyler Warren over him. I don't know that I'd take any of those guys.
Definitely not.
Not Kelsey at this point.
Kraft is young.
Yeah, I think Kraft's decent. He'd be at the back end of the top 10 for me.
And Kraft is coming off an ACL, so we're assuming this is going to be the Tucker Kraft we saw pre-injury.
Good, he's fine, but I think Harold Fannon's got more upside than him.
100% agree.
And Kelsey's old, and Pitts, when he's Pitts at times looks like the best player in football.
And looks unplayable.
And he's lost.
Other times,
I don't know.
But I think the next page, 11 through 15.
Yeah, I'd take him over any of those guys.
Me too. And I don't even think twice. It's a no-brainer to me that I would take him over if you're building a team and taking potential
100%.
and their upside into
He's definitely back end the top 10 if you're starting a team right now.
Without a doubt.
Because Kelsey's old. But it's still amazing that Kelsey's old season, he still had 800 yards and how many touchdowns, Anthony?
He had 5 touchdowns.
I mean, 800-something yards and 5 touchdowns for most tight ends is a very good season.
I think that.
And for Kelsey, it's his old man season.
I think that would have led the Browns in both categories.
Yeah.
Right.
How many touchdowns did Fannin have?
How many touchdowns did Fannin have last year?
Around that.
Going to it right now. 1 second.
We got his season stats, Steve, if you want to pull up his season stats.
He had 6. Yeah,
6.
it's right.
All right, so it would have been second in touchdowns, but about 100 more yards.
He had one less touch. Kelsey had one less touchdown, 100 more yards. And for Fannin, we're like, amazing season. It was. And for Kelsey, it's like he's getting old.
Yeah.
Because for Kelsey, we've looked at him more as like a receiver in terms of his
100%
production.
He's also played with the best quarterback of the last,
And he's had the best quarterback, too.
decade.
In a really creative
But he
offense.
didn't last year because Mahomes missed some of the season. How many
He got
games
hurt
did he
in.
miss?
I think he got hurt. I think like 13 or 14
It was like
games.
December.
Okay, but
or
he still
late-
missed some of
late-
the season.
Kelsey also led the league in drops last year, too.
Which is so bizarre.
For tight ends, yeah.
That is crazy. That is really nuts.
And what do you think of Harold Fannin's potential? Like, how high are you on him compared to some of the other tight ends on that list?
I don't follow tight ends as closely as you guys, but I think he's at least a top 15 after year 1. I thought it was a little surprising that he was low, but if you're taking blocking into account, Njoku was our big blocker last year. Did we even have a third tight end? I can't remember off the top of my head.
Blake Whiteheart.
Yeah, so
Good memory by you.
That is impressive.
Still on the roster.
If Shador is what we want him to be, I think he's easily top 15, top 10. And give it another year or 2, I can see top 5.
That's a big if. I mean, I don't think.
Well, he's got to have somebody to get him the ball, right?
I mean, that does play a huge factor in this.
I mean, yes, but it's not like Trey McBride has had great quarterback play or Brock Bowers has had great quarterback play.
That's fair.
And those are 2 of the 3.
Or even Kittle, I mean, for part of his career.
Well, yeah, but better than what those guys had.
I'm just saying, it's not like he's playing for a top 5
I'm just talking
guy.
his last year.
Oh, last year.
Last year.
Yeah.
The Raiders had terrible quarterback play, and the Cardinals had terrible quarterback play, and those guys were still good. So, Josh Gordon had one of the greatest receiving seasons ever with nobody at quarterback. So, the best players can still put up good numbers even with bad quarterback play. Now, the Browns had exceptionally bad quarterback play. I think they're probably going to have bad quarterback play again. Maybe it won't be exceptionally bad, but time will tell. But
I'm behind Fannin, buying a lot of stock.
Yeah. I think he has the potential to be, one of the better pass catch, like that second group of pass. I don't think he's ever going to be Brock Bowers or Trey McBride, but maybe Trey McBride took a couple of years.
It did.
I was gonna say, I think we saw what potential he had at Bowling Green, and it does translate after this year. I think you can make that argument that it looks like his game is translating. Give it those years, he could be up there.
Yeah, but Brock Bowers was a superstar the minute he came into the league. Sam Laporta was great his first year. Travis Kelce, his first healthy year, he got hurt his rookie season. He was great. But some guys take longer, and McBride is one of them. He wasn't great right away.
Situation and circumstance plays a big role in that. You mentioned those three guys who were great right out of the bat. Laporta went right into a Ben Johnson-led offense, who features a tight end who was one of the most explosive offenses in Detroit with Jared Goff throwing the ball. Ben Johnson, again, with Loveland last year at the end of the season. He became Caleb Williams' #1 target. Features the tight end heavily in their offense. And who was the third one you said? Bowers came right in. Bowers, not a great situation, but he's just so elite as a receiver.
So good,
he's a one-of-one talent.
You remember that one catch he had?
The one-handed?
Yeah,
he's
amazing.
He's a one-of-one.
But I think there's no reason, there's not a lot of guys in that first tier.
Yeah.
The first tier, of young players is probably just McBride and Bowers.
Real quick, you just sparked some. I'm 98% sure.
Yeah.
Maybe 99 and maybe even higher. The Rams tried to trade up to get Brock Bowers in that draft.
I think you're right.
And when they didn't get him, do you know who they ended up getting? Jared Verse.
Oh.
And look how that all. Imagine if they had been able to trade up, because I think they got Jared Verse one spot behind Bowers. Bowers was 9th or 10th pick. Verse was the 11th pick.
Yeah.
Look where we're at now. Myles Garrett gets traded for Jared Verse and 2 first-round picks. The Rams almost don't have Jared Verse because they tried to trade up to get Brock Bowers.
But can you imagine if
Brock Bowers in Sean McVay's offense with Matt Stafford? Yeah. Oh, my goodness. You want to talk about entering a perfect system for a rookie.
Yeah, really.
Brock Bowers, and they drafted Puka Nacua in the 5th round of that draft, too.
Yeah.
The Rams picked Jared Verse at 19. Brock Bowers got taken at 13, just so you know.
That's a failure.
So I was in the right vicinity.
Might have been, but if they had traded up, they wouldn't have it wasn't the next pick, but still, same applies.
The numbers are wrong. The thought process was right.